Hey everyone, it's Mike back with another episode of Habitual Finance. And this week, what I want to talk to you guys about is student debt. Paying it back, trying to get rid of it, not even having it in the first place. Good, better, best. So, as you can tell from the title of this episode, I graduated college 5 years ago. Thankfully, I really hit the ground running. I paid off those loans, $65,000 in 2.5 years, but it was not easy. And I had to give up a lot of stuff. But now, now I'm free. If you are disciplined like that and you get all that stuff out of the way, or if you don't have loans in the first place, you are going to be free to do what you want in life. And that goes with any loans. So what I want this video to be about is some tips that I've learned, some a little late, of how to pay back those college loans while you're in college. Avoid getting them at all in the first place if you can. And then what to do after college when you're working full time and you've graduated already. So I'll break it up into sections like that. So to start, I want to start with what you could do while you're in college to pay down your loans quicker and not even have them in the first place. So some things I learned, first off, is, especially when you're coming out of high school and you're going into college and all your other friends are going into college, or they're going away, or they're going here or there, and they're like, oh, I got this acceptance letter. Let me tell you flat out, no one cares, especially I've been in the industry for 5 years now. It doesn't matter what industry you're in. No one cares where you graduated. As long as you got that degree that you wanted in your field, I'm doing engineering, no one cares where I graduated. It never has been. It all depends on how you present yourself in interviews and how well you do, and how positive you are and how willing you are to learn. It's more about your mindset really than where you graduated. Everyone graduates from college to get to that next full-time job position. So trust me, it's not going to matter. So don't get hung up on that. If you can, go to a community college. Especially if you're not really too sure what you want to do. Try to go to a community college for like the first 2 years if you're going for like a 4-year degree, and get those core classes out of the way, and make sure that they transfer to the college that you are planning on going to afterwards. So for me in engineering, I should have went to a community college and got like my basic maths, physics, and science and chemistry. I should have got all that out of the way because it's the same exact classes. They all transferred. And I did a little bit over the summer, but I'll talk about that in a second. But I should have just flat out went there and then transferred to my next school afterwards. That would have saved me easily like $20,000 or more. So yeah, I know it's hard, especially because I fell into the trap as well of people are like, oh, we're going to go away to college, or I didn't really go too far away, but they're like, oh, we go to parties and we can hang out, and it's still fun. You don't have to miss out on that stuff on weekends when you're free. Go visit your friends and, go party with them. There's nothing wrong with that. But just be disciplined for those first 2 years and try to go to a community college if you can, and make sure that those credits transfer, because that's going to save you a lot of money in the long run. And then you can really party afterwards when you're done. I promise, because you're not going to be in any debt. While your friends are saying that they are going to be in debt for the next 50 years because all they do is make minimum payments on their student loans. That's a whole nother topic. But next, what I want to talk about is while you're in school, while you're in college, doing your classes. I know it gets tough, especially if you're taking like 18, 20 or more credits. It can really get tough. But try to keep at least a part-time job to do on the weekends or at night. So what I did, I worked at a restaurant, and I was a server, and I was bussing or a host, whatever they had open, I would go do, because I felt that, I could really push myself and be good to people, and they'll tip you well, and that's great money, especially at that age, and just keep putting, I would just keep putting money towards every month or so. I'd put money towards my student loans, and it would at least stop the interest from accruing. So, I didn't really see too much progress, and it's hard. It is hard to throw money at it and not to see your principal go down, but your interest is not growing. And that's so important, because the interest that accrues is disgusting. Not as bad as a house, but it's probably the second worst. So trust me on that. You're going to thank yourself later. I haven't done the math because I wasn't as good as tracking back then, but you're going to save yourself a lot of money doing just throwing money at interest and keeping that at bay while you're going through your courses and stuff. I also picked up another job throughout the summers. I did carpentry with my friend's uncle, and that was hard work, and I gave up some summer days, but I got a lot of money from that. I learned a lot too, and I paid off my loans even quicker doing that before I graduated. So the next thing I want to talk about is something that you probably can't do in a community college, and but you can do this in your next college most likely. And that's to be an RA. It's called a resident assistant, or I don't know if everyone calls it that, but it's something like you are the person in charge of like your floor of the dorm. Like we had, I think, like 4 or 5 dormitories, and they have multiple levels, like 6 or 7 floors, and each floor would have 2 RAs, and you would basically be in charge of the floor. You would help everyone out with any problems they had. It could be a really tiring job. Like anything that went wrong, especially if you were like on call, they'd call it, it would get tough. You would have to wake up late at night. But here's the kicker. I would get free room and board for that year and free food. Free unlimited food for that year. That was crazy. That was probably saving me $15,000 to $20,000 easily each year, which is disgusting how much that costs. But that's something that I didn't think about or didn't really have, especially when I was younger. I didn't have the courage to do that. I'm like, how am I going to how am I going to be responsible for like 50 people? But I pushed myself into it, and that's important to always push yourself into more difficult scenarios because it will pay off in the long run, and it did, and I wish I did it earlier. So that's why I want to tell you guys this now. If you could be an RA or any comparison thing of that in your college, do it. Just push yourself into it. You'll be really good at it. I promise you. And the payoff is insane. It's a long-term payoff because you don't see it until the end, but it is so worth it because it cut a whole year off my student loans. And then lastly, what I want to talk about is once you graduate. And that is, once you are done with college and you hopefully have a full-time job, sometimes people don't always, but keep looking. There's always jobs out there. And if you can't get part-time, get 2 part-time, 3 part-time jobs, and just start paying back at those debts as much as you can. I did it by the method. I had 4 loans, I think, that I had to pay back of different interest levels. And the way I did it is I paid back the highest interest loan first, which I think was like 7.5% for me. And then they were as low as like 3%. So I would pay back that 7.5% loan for me because, math is what goes through my head. And I'm like, I know that's accruing quicker. And I'm paying that off first because then the other ones won't accrue as much. So I would pay the minimum towards the other loans, and I would throw all my extra cash at that. I threw away for a little bit going out with friends. I wanted to live on my own, but I lived with my parents, and they thankfully didn't charge me rent. So that saved me a ton of money. People would always joke with me like, oh, you're still living with your parents. I'm like, yeah, but I'm saving a lot of money. And, through all that, that's like thousands of dollars each month that you can throw extra towards those loans. And again, like the title of this video says, I had $65,000 in loans when I was done, and it was disgusting. But after 2.5 years, I paid them all off, and I couldn't have been more proud. So that's what I want to get through to you guys through this video. Like, pay back those loans or try to avoid them. Even better is to try to avoid them in the first place. And I hope that those tips really help you, especially being the RA, because I wish I did that earlier. That would have cut, like when I bought this house, I'm like, I would have had $65,000 more dollars to put as a down payment. I wouldn't have put all of that, but like, there's just a lot of extra money that was left on the table because of those loans. But yeah, so just pay them back quicker, or try not to even have them at all. I hope that you guys really learned something from this video, and it really sparked you to pay back your loans quicker and or work harder towards it. So leave me a comment below if you have any questions or you want more on my story, or I can help you. I'll be happy to help you out. And give me a thumbs up if you like this video, and subscribe if you haven't. So I'll see you guys next week. Thank you so much for listening. Have a good one.